Hello everybody, it's Sylvie. Welcome back to Tarot Magpie. I hope you are doing good. Today I'm talking about my standout decks from 2023. So the standout decks hashtag was created by Three Girls One Deck. I think it's been at least a couple of years that they've been doing this. So they did their live show, they picked 5 decks each. I have considerably more than 5. I tried to have 5 and then I have kind of 2 honourable mentions and then also 7 instead of 5. But you know, an attempt was made. So I faffed around about how I was going to do this. Was I just going to pick decks that I acquired this year? Was I going to pick the decks that I worked with most this year? And for the most part, it's decks that I acquired in 2023. There is one deck that was prior to that. And then I've got 1 Oracle deck. So I kind of have 5 tarot decks, plus an honourable mention, plus an Oracle deck, plus 2 more honourable mentions. So, you know, it is what it is. These are the decks that have been the most standout to me over the course of this year. I've worked with a lot of decks. I have brought in a lot of decks. And these are the decks that I found most meaningful in my practice. They're not necessarily the decks that I've used the most, but they're the ones that have been the most impactful, either because I've really connected with them and I've been able to have some really fantastic readings with them, or because they've kind of shaped or directed my practice a little bit. And I'm really excited to talk about them. So without further ado, I'm going to get into it. I'm going to start with my first 2 honourable mentions, which are 2 decks that I have very recently acquired and so haven't had a chance to make it into this like standout position, but that I am feeling like are going to be really fantastic and I'm really excited to work with them. So the first one is this Ritual Tarot, which I am making a mess with. So this is the new marked edition. You can see the titles on the back. This one's Temperance. This I did a first impressions walkthrough video when I got this, which went up a couple of weeks ago, I want to say. And I've used this in a couple readings since, and I'm just so excited to like get to know it more. There's something about this artwork, there's something about the analog collage that I really like. I think it's gorgeous. I really like the titleless, borderless, like a little piece of artwork kind of style of this deck. The couple of readings that I've done with it have been really great and I'm really excited to keep working with it. I have started using this actually, so we're gonna tangent today, I'm afraid. Where is it? So I got this book, The Tarot Spreads Yearbook by Chelsea Pippin Mizzy and illustrated by Cara Hudson. And this has 52 spreads and you can do it like 1 a week. And I have done the first couple with this deck. So I don't know how long that will continue, but so far that's what I've been using this with and I've been really liking it. I think this is a really good deck to kind of, maybe just because I'm still getting used to it, and maybe because the kind of, kind of abstract imagery. This is not like a quick and dirty reading for me at this point. I love this. This is the Magician, right? Yeah, this is such a gorgeous Magician. So it's a good one to like sit and think a little bit more deeply with. And so those readings I've been, pulling my cards and then kind of writing it up in my little tarot journal. And I've been really enjoying that. And I think this is a really good deck for it. So it's an honourable mention, which I've managed to talk about for about 3 minutes, but it's an honourable mention. I'm really excited to work with it. And this is the other honourable mention, which literally arrived yesterday. I thought I wasn't going to get it till next year. I'm so excited. So this is Zeke's Arcana. And look at that holographic. Like, you see this aesthetic and you know this is a Sylvie deck, right? I mean, we've got the pink edges, we've got the pink and the holographic and this kind of like alien vibrant, colourful art style. Like, come on, this is a Sylvie deck if ever there was one. So this literally came in yesterday. I have flipped through the deck and given it a shuffle, and that is all I've done with this deck so far. But I'm really, really excited. As you can see, it's kind of pips, but pips that I think are reminiscent of the Rider-Waite-Smith artwork. For the most part, this is a little bit more Marseille, but you know what I mean. So yes, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. There's a little golden retriever in the moon card, which is wonderful. So yeah, I'm really excited to work with this deck. I think it's going to be really fantastic. I have really high hopes for my relationship with this deck. Oh, those edges, like, come on. I can't get over it. Aesthetically, this deck is just perfection. I think this is now out of print though, or is very shortly going to be out of print, because I got this direct. Oh, we left someone behind. We left the Knight of Wands behind. I got this direct from the creator's shop, which did ship from Australia, but she was having a sale because she is going to stop selling the deck, I believe. I don't love this box, I will say that much. You know what, I think we're just going to give up on the box. Yes, I believe the creator is going to stop selling this deck, so if it's still available and you want it, maybe jump on it. But anyway, that's my second honourable mention. Alright, so on to my actual standout decks. This is going to be in no particular order, but this one that I'm grabbing is the one that I had before this year started, which I've spoken about a lot. So do we recognise the butterfly scarf? This is the Tripping Weight Tarot, which is a Rider-Waite-Smith clone by Tarot Collectibles. And I've spoken about this deck a lot, and I was using this deck so much in the first half of the year, but once we hit like midsummer, I just kind of put this one away. You know, like it's very bright, colourful, summery vibes. I have quite a few Tarot Collectibles decks, and so I kind of put this one down in favour of other Rider-Waite-Smith and other Tarot Collectibles decks. I love this, and this one is really special to me particularly because this is the deck that I have read for other people with the most. I've taken this to pubs. It's actually sticky because I took it to a pub, I sat it down on a sticky table, which I do regret, but it's glossy, so I'm thinking I can probably just give it a clean, which I should probably do sooner rather than later, but I digress. So this deck is a standout deck because it was with this that I started really getting more confident reading for other people. And also it was with this, although this isn't the Rider-Waite-Smith artwork, like this isn't Pamela Coleman Smith's artwork, it is obviously heavily based on her artwork. And I think it's with this deck that I started to feel more comfy just with the Rider-Waite-Smith system as a whole. So the Guru is a stand-in for the Hierophant, which I don't think I love, but it is what's in this deck. Yeah, this was just my go-to. This was the deck that was living in my like handbag for a while. This was the deck I was reading for other people with. It's really gorgeous. It's got a really important place in my tarot deck collection. So this was the other kind of honourable mention in a way, because this is the only one that I did not get this year. I did these purple edges myself. They definitely need like a touch-up. They're looking a bit shabby for sure. Alright, next up, The Fifth Spirit Tarot by Charlie Claire Burgess. This is the mass market Hay House edition. As with all these decks, I've spoken about this plenty. I honestly don't remember when in the year that I got this deck because it feels like it should always have been in my collection. And this is a standout deck for me, I think because I adore the representation in it. Although obviously the minors are a bit more pippy, I just love the variety of people that are depicted, the variety of body types, the variety of sexualities, as much as you can ascertain that from an image, the variety of gender expression. I just think it's gorgeous. I think it reflects the world that I live in, which, you know, a lot of decks don't. And I also think it's really expressive. And I also, so this is the most modern kind of deck that I think that I own. So like here, this is, you know, it's a modern bicycle with a bicycle helmet. Like this is fairly contemporary. And there's, I think, have we got a motorcycle somewhere maybe? But for the most part, this is a bit more of a modern styling, which I previously would have said that I did not like, would never get on with. Maybe I should do that tarot deck exceptions tag, because prior to this, I've been like, no, modern decks are not for me. Then I got this and my whole viewpoint changed because this is just fantastic. This has also been really impactful for me because it got me really hooked on Charlie Claire Burgess's work. So I've backed their Gay Marseille, which is coming out, I think in the spring. I think in the spring, because I did Marseille for May this year, and I want to do it again next year and just like really focus on Marseille decks in the month of May because it sounded cute and that was when I was interested in it. And this, I think I'm ideally getting in March or April, so I'll have it in time for May May. I don't know. Anyway, so I backed the Gay Marseille. I also got their book Radical Tarot, which I have mentioned in several videos. I've been singing its praises. I think it's a fantastic book, and I'm just really grateful for this deck. I'm grateful for the kind of avenues that this deck has like opened me up to, because without having got this and read the little guidebook that comes with this one, I might not have been so excited about their book and about their Marseille deck. And yeah, I love the Magpie and the Seven of Swords. I think we'll leave that one there. But yeah, the Fifth Spirit Tarot has just been fantastic. It's also a really clear reader. I really like pulling it out for people when I read for people, because like it's very queer focused, it's very beyond the binary focused. That's like one of the taglines for the deck. And it's nice pulling out for my friends and having them see themselves like reflected in this deck. I think that's really important. So the Radical Tarot. All right, speaking of Marseille, I've also got the Squid Cake Marseille Tarot by Jess Rollout. This again is the mass market version that came out in the springtime this year, I think. I'm gonna zoom in because this is a dinky little deck. I've spoken about this a bunch. This was the deck that got me started on Marseille. I bought this, I think, because it was cheap and it was cute, and I thought, hey, I might want to learn the Marseille system. I might as well get this adorable pink deck with like the cute strawberries and the gorgeous illustrations and the cute pink edging. Like I might as well get this. I think it retails, what do we retail for? It retails for £15, and I think I got it for like 10 or 11 when like just before it launched or shortly after it launched. Anyway, I kind of picked this up on a whim, and then I've definitely spoken about this before. I was going through a bit of a rough time, and I was playing with this deck a lot because I was feeling quite depressed and dissociated, frankly, and shuffling through this deck and looking at the pips just felt kind of, it feels different to reading fully illustrated tarots like the Rider-Waite-Smith. There was something about it that was quite like low pressure, and I found myself really getting into it. And so this is what kicked off my interest in studying the Marseille and my Marseille for May, whatever I called it. I don't remember now. But yes, I'm really grateful for this deck for that. It's kind of kicked off a whole other reading style system of tarot for me, as well as just being, it was a bit of a supportive tarot when I needed a little bit of support, which was honestly quite serendipitous, but I'm very grateful for it. So, and it's just so cute. I think that about sums that one up. I am still not an expert, not even close to fluent in reading the Marseille system, but I'm really enjoying getting to know it, and I really enjoy pulling this deck out and just shuffling through it. Like, it's quite, I think the pips are just quite like meditative almost. And yeah, so that is the squid cake. Tarot of the Crystal World. This was a Kickstarter that I backed in 22 in like the autumn, I think, and it took a while to come in, but it was so worth the wait. You can see like the gold gilding is like wearing away because I've used this so much. I did one of the end of year tags that I've done, and I know I've done a few because I really like them. One of them asked about my most used deck of this year, and I think I went for this one in the end because, again, this is a deck that I've read for friends a lot with and has just been like, oh, this Queen of Swords, I love her. It's lived in my bag quite a lot. I've sort of taken it out about with me and then, you know, pulled cards for myself on a bus or pulled cards for a friend when I've been out for coffee or whatever. I've used this a lot. I love the art style. I think it's like comic booky, but also like there's like a Western vibe, but it's also kind of, it's hard to pin down to any specific like time or place. It's also a pretty queer deck, which I obviously love. I love some of the takes on different cards. I think the quote cards in this are especially cool. Yeah, and I think this one is just a standout deck because I've used it a lot. I really loved it. I find this really, really clear to read. Like, I feel like I always know what this deck is saying. I love this full card, honestly. Yeah, like, this Six of Pentacles is cool though, because I see this as like a follow-on from the Five of Pentacles, and it kind of makes more sense to me than the Rider-Waite-Smith Six of Pentacles, which we all know I have beef with. But anyhow, yeah, I think it's gorgeous. I really enjoy it. I also love the shuffle on this. Like, I try not to be too much of a cardstock snob, but you know, it's a physical object. The shuffle, the cardstock, the feel of it obviously is going to impact how I feel about a deck because it's a physical, tactile thing. Anyhow, I love everything about this deck. I'm really glad that I have this. This was one that I went really back and forth on backing on Kickstarter because I wasn't sure. And honestly, I think the reason that I went for it in the end was probably because it was quite a low price. And like, that's what triggered me to buy it. And if it had been more expensive, now having read with it, I would gladly have paid that. But at the time, I probably would have given it a pass. So, like, I almost didn't get this. And honestly, that's happened with a lot of my favorite decks. I, like, almost didn't buy them. But anyhow, this is wonderful. Like, I really like this Page of Coins. Like, there's just something about it. Like, I think there's quite a unique perspective on a lot of the cards without being too far removed from a recognizable tarot system. Do you know what I mean? I think I'm rambling, so I think we'll leave that there. But yeah, the Tarot of the Crystal World, definitely a standout. Also, I don't have it on my desk, but this came with a little 20 card oracle deck, which is also wonderful, and I'm also so glad that I have. Okay, the Morgan Greer. This one is one that I've not, you know, compared to the other decks in this. Who's upside down? The Hanged Man is upside down. How appropriate. Compared to a lot of the other decks in this video, I've not read with this one a huge deal. I had like a very intense period of using this I think I got this in August, maybe. August or September, and immediately fell in love with it, used it quite a lot, and then I haven't really used it so much since the weather got colder. Like, look at these blue skies. Like, this is not a cold weather deck. But I loved it so much that it has to be a standout deck. This deck really was just so like punchy and so on the money and straight to the point. Like, I've told this story before, but when I was looking at the sample deck that they had in the store, I didn't realize the box was broken and dropped all the cards through the bottom of the box onto the floor, and then the death card popped out on top, which, you know, just felt very appropriate. I was about to start my death year because it was coming up to my birthday, and just there he is, just very appropriate for like the time that I've been going through. And that's kind of been this deck every time that I've read with it. It kind of has slapped me around the face with what I need to hear and what I kind of know I need to hear, but what I really don't necessarily want to hear. But like, it does the job just so well, so straight to the point. I also really enjoy the artwork. I think it's a classic for a reason. And again, I'm really glad to have this in my collection. I don't think I'd be without it. And even though this isn't one of my most used decks of 2023, it had to have its place on this list. Maybe we don't want the Nine of Swords sitting on top though. Let's put the Sun on top. Okay, I'll do my last tarot deck and then I'll do the Oracle that I've got in this collection. Honestly, no points for guessing that the Tarot Volatile would make it onto this list because I have not shut up about this deck. I got this in January. There has been another printing. I don't know if it's currently available to order or to pre-order or what have you, but I know that it's not permanently out of print, I don't think. I recently, well, in September, I got the guidebook for this as well, which I haven't had a chance to, I say had a chance, I haven't got around to working in depth with this deck and the guidebook yet, but I'm itching to do so. Anyway, this is, I talk about this deck all the time. This deck just speaks to me the way that no other deck speaks to me. I think first of all, I think it's gorgeous. Like, the aesthetic of this art style is wonderful. I love that. So here you can see I've got Fortuna and I've got Dogma. There's loads of alternative cards. And so I've swapped in Fortuna instead of the wheel and Dogma instead of the Hierophant. So it's kind of customizable. So that's partly why it talks to me so clearly, because I've picked the cards for some of them that speak to me the most. When I did the favorite cups cards, favorite swords cards, etc., that little series of responses to Livy at Crescent Dreams Tarot, I know this deck came up a lot. Like, I was just looking at the Six of Wands, and I know I talked about this as being one of my favorite Six of Wands cards. It's just so good. I feel like I get so much from the artwork. I feel like all the little extra details just make sense to me. Like I say, I haven't read the guidebook yet, so I don't know if I'm necessarily reading what was intended, but that doesn't matter because I'm getting a lot out of it anyway. But I'm still really interested to read the guidebook and like see where I've hit on things and see where there's things that I've not noticed or that I can view in a different way. I did the soul reading that was popular on TarotTube a while ago, and this was the deck that I used for that, because this might be my favorite deck. This might be what I might call a soul deck for me. It's just so good. So here I've got Dream instead of the Star. I'm like, it's beautiful. Yeah. I'm just singing this deck's praises at this point. We've also got alternative Two of Cups cards. So I've got the one here with two women on it. A more Marseille style lovers. Like, it's just so good. And I think I've run out of original thoughts, and I will just be exclaiming about the gorgeousness of this deck if I don't stop. So that is the Terra Volatile. Here's another one. I've got Last Judgment instead of Judgment. I think that's an alternative. And I just think that's like Last Judgment just adds like a bit of an angle on the Judgment card that makes so much sense to me. So that is the Terra Volatile. Okay, my camera died because my card was full, so obviously I spoke too much about Terra Volatile. But this is the last deck. This is the last of my standout decks. This is the only Oracle deck that made it onto the list. Again, I've talked about this constantly. This is the Sustain Yourself Oracle. This edition came out this year, but I believe there was a previous edition, which I assume the cards are the same, but I don't know. Anyway, this is like 100 cards, I think. It's this ecological-based analog collage, which we know I love, and we've got a title, which is the like ecological thing, and then a thing. You know, it's what's being depicted is what's on the card, and then there's a keyword at the top, and then when you go into the guidebook, it sort of explains a little bit like compost and recycling. That makes sense, but not all of them are quite as obvious to me, so the guidebook is good at just connecting the dots, and then it also gives you a little message as well. And I've just really loved this deck. It is kind of odd in the sense that like the keywords, you know, jungle and mother and channel aren't necessarily going to make the most sense with the reading that I'm doing, but the keywords are really good, and just the little paragraph that the guidebook gives makes so much sense. And I really love just adding this into tarot spreads. I've loved reading with this deck as though it's a tarot deck almost, because usually I feel Oracle and Tarot are kind of different beasts. But sometimes, again, when I'm feeling depressed and dissociated, I will just pull a card for each tarot spread position and interpret it in kind of the same way I'd interpret a tarot reading. I don't know if that makes sense when I explain it, but there's a difference. And this is a standout in particular because this was the Oracle deck that really kind of switched, redirected, somethinged my relationship with, my practice with Oracle decks. I did a video back in the spring, early summer, lamenting the fact that I struggle with Oracle decks and wanting to find Oracle decks and kind of assessing my Oracle deck situation. And then shortly, mediumly after that, I acquired this deck, and I feel like everything changed. This deck was a bit of a catalyst, you know? And so it's a standout deck for that reason, because it really sort of shifted my practice. I've since acquired more Oracle decks. I've figured out ways to work with them that work for me, and this deck is just fantastic. I just really enjoy it. There's just something about it. I think partly because there's so many cards, like you're not getting repeat cards very often, and there's a lot of like variety. And I think because it's this like ecology, nature based theming, it's quite neutral. Like the guidebook and the keywords up top can definitely skew things a bit more positive or a bit more negative, but for the most part, like it's nature, it's neutral, it's not moralized one way or the other, and you can read it in all manner of ways. And yeah, like this is so fun. A leap in Lima. Like obviously joy is skewing quite positive, but I'm not sure what the guidebook says about the leap in Lima, but this on its own is quite neutral. So this is the Sustain Yourself Oracle. I have loved other Oracle decks this year. And actually, if I was going to do another honorable mention for a deck I'm really excited to work with in 2024, it would be this, which is When Olga Speaks. And the reason I was reluctant to include this is because it didn't fund on Kickstarter. This one was up for a brief time on Make playing cards for the people who like missed out because it didn't fund. But I think there's going to be another Kickstarter, and so I feel like this isn't the final product, so I kind of didn't want to include it. But also I have only had this fairly recently, and I'm still figuring out how best I want to work with it. So this is another one that I'm really excited to work with in 2024. Possibly with the Ritual Tarot, because that was a pairing I explored when I was unboxing the Ritual Tarot, which I really loved. So bonus extra honourable mention, because I can't help myself. Right, after interrupting myself, I think that is probably all that I wanted to say about this deck. It's a standout because I really enjoy the way that I've worked with it. It has shifted my practice fairly significantly. And I also just think it's really cool. Like, I love the analog collage. I love, like, it looks quite like early 2000s with the way that the graphics have been done and like the papyrus font. But I love it. Like, is it a bit dated and cheesy? Yeah, but I love it. Yeah. I think it's great. And that is my final standout deck. Okay, that is everything from me. That is well more than 5 decks, but I wanted to talk about them all. I'm excited for the ones that I have to work with in 2024. I'm excited for anything else that comes my way in 2024. I'm excited to keep working with these decks in 2024. I'm really glad that I did this video. It was tricky to narrow down, and I simply could not make it only 5. But I tried my best. This is as curated as you're going to get from me. Anyway, let me know if you have and also love these decks. Let me know what your standout decks were. I'm definitely watching people's responses to this tag. I've been kind of not seeking it out until I did my version of the video, but now that I've filmed this, I will be watching everybody's standout decks. And probably adding quite a few more decks to my wish list, because that is the way these things go. But anyhow, that is everything from me. Let me know what you think. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Give me a like if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.